Hello. Normally during this time of year, we have our annual membership luncheon. But with all that's going on in our nation at this time, that's just not possible. We miss connecting with you and we miss seeing you before harvest. But we still wanted to have this opportunity to be able to connect with you via these videos. To tell you more about what APG is doing, what we're working on, our programs, and our activities. We hope you enjoy watching these videos, and we hope you have a good 2020 harvest. So let's start with talking about the 2020 crop. At the very beginning of the year, with all the acres that are in production, it was estimated that the crop size would be between 1 billion to 1.2 billion pounds. But as the season progressed and the realization that we did not get enough chill hours, especially in the extreme eastern and extreme western parts of the San Joaquin Valley, and with adverse weather conditions experienced during bloom, that had an effect on pollination. So as I talk with processors, the best estimate now is that we're going to have a crop size between 900 million to 1 billion pounds. Certainly a large crop, but not as large as we had expected. So let's talk about current shipments. When we look at the domestic market, movement has been really good. When we look at the period from the new fiscal year or new crop year that started September 1 through the current period, which would be the end of June, our shipments are pretty much on par with last year's record-setting pace for the domestic market. And when we dig deeper, we see that kernels now represent about 28% of all shipments. And that's a number that's been going up each and every year. And then when we look into the flavored market, that now represents about 15% of all domestic sales. So that's another area where we have seen an increase year over year. We believe that we're going to continue to see these increases in kernels and flavors that will help to get even more consumers focused on pistachios. So that's the good news on the domestic market. As we transition to the export market, there's probably three things that are going to affect and have affected the export market: COVID, competition, and tariffs. So as I look at countries like China, which had been our #1 export market, COVID and certainly tariffs have had an impact in the last year. Their ability to take in product or their desire to move product and have consumption during COVID has been certainly impacted. But competition has also been a factor there. We routinely compete with product that comes in from Iran. And with the crop that Iran had in 2019, they have been selling more into that marketplace than they had previously in the last few years. And so when that price differential gets to be so large, buyers have to make a choice between a consistent, high-quality product from the United States or a product that comes from Iran that simply is just cheaper in price. And so we see some buyers move back and forth between US and Iran product, where other buyers are focused solely on buying US product. As we turn to India, we see the big impact that COVID has had there. That market had been growing over the last 3 years, but because of their mandatory shutdown, a national shutdown for 1 month, that certainly has had an impact on being able to get stuff through the ports to where it needs to go. And now India appears to be on the verge of a second national shutdown. So we've seen a downturn in the marketplace there. The Middle East. The Middle East had been a growing market, growing from about 5 million pounds to about 35 million pounds over the last 3 to 4 years. But demand there is off. When you look at the Middle East, there are certain countries where the shipment numbers remain the same, yet there are other countries where the numbers are off. So Parts of the Middle East are transshipment areas to other parts of the world, and that's where we do see an impact. And again, competition, where we're dealing with product that in some cases is substantially lower than the US, has an impact on where those buyers are going to choose to buy from. So now moving on to Europe, we're off in that country. Certainly COVID had an impact, but as I talk with processors, they tell me that their buyers are continuing to buy and restocking shelves on a fairly normal basis. But when you look at the shipment numbers and you compare the current off year with the last time we had an off year, so this is 2019 crop versus 2017, so comparing off years with off years, we're actually ahead of shipments. And in fact, through June of this year, we've actually shipped more than we did from the 2017 crop. So that's just showing you that when you make those kind of more detailed comparisons, that we're actually doing pretty well in Europe. And processors tell me that the demand from the buyers continues to be strong in that area of the world. So let me give you some insights into potential future pricing and movement. Sort of the good, the bad, but not the ugly, because with pistachios, ugly doesn't exist. So on the good side, as I talk with processors, movement continues to be strong and demand is there from a number of areas in the worldwide market. The opportunity to regain market share is also there because we continue to have a consistent, high-quality product along with consistent food safety standards. And that's something that consumers and buyers around the world are looking for. On top of that, APG's nutrition research. We churn out study after study about all the nutritional and health benefits of pistachios. And we turn those studies then into marketing and public relations and consumer programs to get even more and more consumers focused on pistachios. So recently we did complete a study on pistachios being a complete protein with all the 9 essential amino acids in the right amounts. Of course, pistachios are a good plant-based protein, and that's something that consumers around the world are recognizing in greater and greater amounts. So protein from pistachios is a good source. Of course, we have our heart healthy message, blood sugar control, weight management. All those things are things that consumers are getting focused on and want to know more about. So we help promote those things. The US also has consistent large volumes. And so when buyers around the world are looking to buy product, they know that they can count on the US having that supply that they need. And did I say consumer promotion and PR programs? Well, 80% of our budget each and every year is spent in that area. And we're going to continue to do so as we produce these larger and larger crops. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, our mantra is creating demand ahead of the production. And that's what we're doing each and every day. So let's talk about the potential bad that's out there. The first is the coronavirus epidemic that's being experienced around the world. What effect that will have on consumption, what effect that'll have on shipments, being able to move product, get them properly offloaded at ports. You know, at this point, we just don't know, but it's something that we have to be aware of and be concerned about. Tariffs. We have the tariffs in China that certainly can impact sales, especially when that has an effect on price differential between our product and product coming in from other countries. And now with the issue with Hong Kong in the US indicating that it's going to remove their preferential trade treatment that Hong Kong has had, and the possibility that we may implement tariffs on products that come from Hong Kong, and them in turn implementing tariffs on US product. Now we know that Hong Kong is a transshipment point, and so a lot of shipments that go there are then going to be moved to other parts of the world, but certainly it can have an impact on product that's being moved there. And speaking of tariffs, there's potential tariffs in the EU. There's the ongoing dispute between Airbus and Boeing, and the potential that tariffs could be implemented there, and other commodities like pistachios could be caught up in that tariff situation. And of course, there's competition. There's Iran, there's kernels from Turkey. As I say, as Iran production goes, so does potential sales all around the world, especially in those markets that tend to be more price sensitive. So my overall thoughts, look, I'm not a marketer. I don't sell into the marketplace. But American Pistachio Growers is the entity that's working to reduce trade barriers around the world. We're the entity that's promoting American-grown pistachios for our high quality, our high food safety, and we continue to promote around the world. And in fact, 80% of our budget is being spent on promoting your product around the world. And as I've said before, our mantra continues to be market ahead of the anticipated production. And that's what we're going to continue to do, because we know we need to build consumer demand around the world. So I see that stable pricing is going to be there in the long term. In the short term, there could be some ups and downs, but I do believe that we're going to continue to see stable pricing in the pistachio industry in the long term. So I want to thank you again for participating with us this virtual annual summer luncheon. We hope to get together with you really soon. I want to leave you with this final thought. We know that you grow pistachios because you're in it for the long term. And American Pistachio Growers wants to be with you to work towards your long-term success. So we're going to continue to do our part to represent you, to defend you, to help promote your product, because we know that pistachios are an incredibly healthy, nutritious product that consumers all around the world want to enjoy. And we want to make sure we get that message out to everyone. So thank you again, and we wish you a very successful 2020 harvest.